Hi, everyone, and welcome to the One Podcast. Today's guest is probably one of my favorite people on the planet. I met this woman online through a coaching group, and I actually got to meet her in person in Hawaii a few months ago. But you know, when you have those connections and you meet someone and it just feels like you've known them forever. We were just talking about how I feel like I went to high school with her and college, and then we met up later. But it is just a true soul connection, which is a blessing to me. But the reason she's such a blessing in general is she is one of the most beautiful people I've ever met inside and out. Her heart is just pure goodness. It's a heart of gold. She's kind, she's loving, she's very, very, very talented. I'm very excited about the subject we're going to be talking about today, too. She used to be a model, so she's beautiful on the outside. But what I love is you define and radiate beauty through and through. And I feel blessed to know you. And I'm very excited to have this conversation with you today. So, this is my good friend, Jocelyn Luko-Sandstrom. She is also going to be talking about one of my favorite things called the Spiritual Billionaire, a mission she is on. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being our guest. I'm so excited to have you.
Oh my gosh, you're making me cry. Like I'm literally tearing up. Thank you so much because when I joined our mentors program that we met together, immediately I was drawn to you. There was a remembrance and your power and your presence and your kindness and your love and how you showed up for everybody, not just for yourself, but for everybody. It was this instant connection, and I'm so grateful to know you, and so honored to be on this beautiful mission of yours as well, too, because when people listen to this podcast, it's the ripple that's changing, transforming the world from the inside out. And so thank you so much for doing this. And thank you to the universe for bringing us together and also bringing you to Hawaii. We sat and we talked for 3 or 4 hours.
Close down the
Was it
restaurant.
enough?
I know. I mean, is it ever enough in Hawaii? And especially at a good meal, right? Perfect weather. We'll definitely be back.
But the thing
I
is, everything you said about me, I feel exactly about you. Like the most powerful, beautiful, kind, just loving soul. So thank
thank
you.
you. Yes, we love each other, obviously.
Yes.
Before we get into this, I really, really want to say something. I haven't done this on any other podcasts that I've done or any of the YouTubes, but before we started, I felt strongly that there is something very important about this podcast. And I know that on some I've done previously, the important message seems to come through towards the end. But there was such, and as I am speaking these words, I feel it again. So I just want to say, if by chance, well, it's not by chance, never mind, we're not even saying that part. If you are here listening to this, or if you came across this on YouTube, I really invite you to sit with this and listen. I feel like the message that is for you is between the words. And I've talked about this on a different podcast, but listen to the stories. Try and recognize yourself in the things that she says. But if you're not resonating with the actual stories and the words that we're saying, listen in between the words because there is something I just haven't felt this on any of the other podcasts yet to this extent. And so I feel like there's a very important message for very specific people. And if you came across this, you're one of those people. So I just, I feel that. And I wanted to make sure I say it at the beginning in case you can make the time all the way to the end. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today. And then I want to jump into all things spiritual billionaire. I want to talk about that because I know right away people are going to think, okay, this is just about money. This is amazing. Oh, wait, spiritual money. And yeah, we're going to talk about money, but it's so much bigger than that, which we will get to. So, how did you get to where you are now? And then what brought in the spiritual billionaire?
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited. So I'm from Hawaii and I grew up in Hawaii and I had a childhood that now I look back on was beautiful. But when you're in it, Your stories, your perceptions, the things that were hard made me strong. It was exactly perfect for my evolution. My
Mm-hmm.
soul came here to experience it so that it could transcend it and I could see it. But before I got to this point, I had all these stories about it, right? And it wasn't until I was 16 when I did my first contract for modeling in Tokyo for 2 months in the summer from school that I felt like I belonged somewhere and that people liked me and I could talk about what I wanted to talk about and they actually liked it. And I was like, what? And I realized there was nothing wrong with me. I thought there was something wrong with me my whole childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I just realized that, wow, there's different people out there. You're just a fit for different people. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. And that blew my mind. I would go back every summer to do a contract. And when I graduated, I did it full time, lived in 12 countries, working, modeling, doing that, and spending 20 years overseas, building this incredible career beyond my wildest dreams. Which is something that I didn't think would happen coming from Hawaii. I just saw myself as that girl that was bullied all the time. And no matter what I saw on the outside, I still felt like her on the inside. So I still showed up that way, but I was able to quantum manifest this unbelievable career when everybody told me that I couldn't. Like when my last agent or country I was in, I said, I want to brand myself. I want to do this. And they're like, oh, you can't. You're too old. You're too boring. You're almost married. And I was like, no, I have this knowing. And it's that knowing that drove me to within a year get my first interview in the newspaper. And then it took off even more and everything unfolded from there. But in 2016, my grandpa passed, my grandma passed, and a week later, my mom had a stroke all in the same month. My whole world flipped upside down. So I moved home to support my mom. I would fly back and forth every 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
from Hong Kong to Hawaii, but it just wasn't sustainable. So we moved home. And that's when my rebirth kind of happened. So I always look at my crises as my quantum leaps now
Mm-hmm.
because of all that happened. Not only did I move home, I was thinking I was going to be able to fly back and forth for work still.
Yeah.
But then the country went into protest.
Oh.
And so magazines were shutting down, brands were shutting down, shops were shutting down. So they're not going to fly me back and forth at that point. I haven't lived in the States for 20 years. And then I went right back home into grieving, right back into all my childhood stuff that I thought that I had transcended. And I forgot who I was. I started getting bullied again. I started thinking something was wrong with me. I started to fit into the box. And I just went down this dark rabbit hole and I got consumed until finally I remembered who I really was, and I wasn't meant to fit into the box. I was meant to break the 4 minute mile or
Yeah.
find my own box. But it took a long time. It took 5 miscarriages. Each miscarriage was my biggest blessing to show me where I was out of alignment. Even 3 of the miscarriages, my siblings had babies, told me they were pregnant within the month after the miscarriage. I'm watching everybody live this life because I was really the martyr. I was the overgiver. I was the doing for everybody, like the spiritual martyr for me. That's what I was becoming until I realized first, I have to remember who I am. I'm the person that did live overseas. I'm not external power. When I was overseas building that career, I realized like 90% of it was external power because I was on the top of the world. Outside, it looked phenomenal. But inside, I had anxiety. There was so much pressure because as the higher I got, the more pressure there was. And I felt like an imposter that they're going to remember that I don't belong here and kick me out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That whole time I'm like, oh, they're gonna forget the dream's gonna end. And the universe gave me this most, or my soul gave me this most beautiful journey to start in Hawaii, to start in the suppression, to start in the struggle, to then get all this external power overseas, and then say, that's not it. You're meant to come home and you're meant to develop inner power.
Right.
And then you're meant to meld the inner power and the external power and create the spiritual billionaire. So I look back on my life and this is insane. Everything was so perfectly aligned that now I know anything that happens is for my transcendence or for all of our transcendence.
I think there are so many elements to your story that are already so important that I would love to touch on. So, number one, who would guess that you're going to be bullied when you end up being a model, because most of us think people are bullied when you're unattractive or you're weird or different
But
or
I was.
and right, aren't we all though? When we're little, we all are weird and we look different and we're, but to be bullied, then have life throw you completely the opposite direction, which is okay, first you're teased and bullied, and now you're recognized for your looks, and you're thrown into this environment where it does all look like glamour. You're thrown into an environment that externally looks great, and then you recognize that's not it, and you're put back into an environment where externally doesn't look great. And I think for some people, you would think, oh, well, I got the message when the external doesn't look great that it's supposed to be an internal thing. So why would I have to end up going through the external not being great? I already figured that out. I know it's internal. But I love that you were able to recognize. I think one of the gifts already that you're offering people, if they're at a place where they're ready to hear it, is that you can look back on all elements of your story and recognize that it could be good for you. I know some people can't look back and take on the full, it's all meant for me, or it all was good for me, or it all led to this development. I know some are ready for that, and I really want you to hear that, and then some aren't. But there is the possibility to look back and be able to say, okay, all of those things did add up to be in my favor. One thing that I feel like is really personal, but I do think would be helpful, is the fact that you can actually look at those miscarriages as a gift to you, or as a something that was somewhat positive. And I don't know anyone who looks at a miscarriage that way. And I have no doubt there will be listeners that either this is a brand new thought for them, or it might trigger them, because that is a very challenging, very heartbreaking experience. How did you come to that place for you? And especially having so many of them. So it's not like she had one and she came up with this mindset. She's actually had a number of them. So this is a woman who knows what she's talking about. But I think that would be helpful for women that might still have some real heartbreak around that.
First of all, I absolutely love this. When I was growing, I always say growing through things because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going through it anymore. I'm growing through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's also something I shifted. So when I was growing through all of this, I did not have this mindset in the beginning, right? In the beginning, the first miscarriage, I was a complete wreck.
Oh, of
And
course.
and I was so ashamed. I thought there was something wrong with me as a woman. I'm so healthy. I take care of my health. I eat
Yeah.
healthy. I exercise and I take care of my mindset. And here I am having all these struggles. And then everybody around me not eating healthy, drinking, like all, and it's so easy for these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the first time that this mindset started to drop was because my mom got sick in 2002. And
Okay.
that's how I found all of this.
Okay.
I knew there was a natural way to help her. So that's when I
Mm-hmm.
certified in NLP, neurologic reprogramming hypnosis. Before that, I was modeling what models do. We were partying, living this crazy lifestyle, eating like all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so if she hadn't gotten sick, I don't know if I would have found this. So our souls aligned. And because that happened, I certified in all of this. I helped her to get better naturally. Then I dove into energetics, Reiki, Millennium Method, my quantum physics-based modality, Yun Method, all of these things, and melded them together. And when I was able to help her, I knew I wanted to help the world as well too.
Uh,
So that's where this mindset started, where I knew that there was something more. Then I just went with that. So when I was in the deepest, darkest shadow hole, I thought I couldn't climb out of it. After my grandparents passed, my mom had a stroke, we came home. I couldn't even get credit in America because I just used cash all the time back then. And so like I had to, I had to get a Macy's card just to build credit because I lived overseas in Europe and Australia and
yeah.
Asia. So it literally was like everything was taken from me.
Mm-hmm.
My family, my dreams, my career that I built for 20 years. I had to start from the bottom. And not just that, I was back in childhood getting bullied by everybody because I was the weird one again,
Yeah.
right? So I did go down in that hole. but I knew that I wasn't going to stay there. I used my mindset. How do I climb out of this hole? I know that this is temporary. And my favorite saying was, this is happening for me, not to me. And so this is the belief that helped me.
Yeah.
It's all a belief. When I chose to decide what I wanted to experience here, I then chose what story I was going to tell myself to
Mm,
help me to feel good about it. My story is not true. Your story is not true. No story is true, right? I have completely different memories from childhood that my brother and my sister have
yeah.
of where we were and who said what and all of this because nothing's real until you put a story on it. But
Right.
that story, again, is just a story.
Yes. It's a
And so that's when
perception.
I realized I don't want to feel this anymore. So, what story can I tell myself that's going to help me to transcend this? And
Ooh.
that became my story that this is happening for me, not to me. No matter how much times I was crying, because my mom was still in depression from the stroke because she lost full mobility on her left side. Then I had those miscarriages. And then my son, when he was born, had colic for 3 months on top of all of that. And I felt like the worst mother in the world because I couldn't stop the pain.
Yeah.
Every day I felt like a failure and I didn't have friends here because I had just moved home. So it was like I was alone dealing with the grief, dealing with all of this stuff. I had my husband, but
Yeah.
he was also having a hard time because we had left a career of 20 years
Yeah.
to start in nothing. He didn't even have a green card because he's Canadian. So he couldn't even get a job.
Oh
So
my.
then we had to do all of this. And then that first miscarriage, I went into the old way I would process it, right? And then I realized there's a gift in here and I don't know what it is. And as I started to do that, I started to look for the gift in it. Instead of looking and saying something was wrong with me, I started to look in the gifts for everything.
Uh,
I realized that if I found the gift and I lived the gift, I would honor my baby.
oh.
And so I live in that truth because you don't know how hard it was to watch my siblings have my baby. Literally, I would miscarry and I'd watch the whole birth, the whole pregnancy, crying all the time. And when the baby was born, know that would have been me. And
Yeah.
then have to go through that 3 times.
And again.
Yes, until I got to the point that I got in alignment and I started to have healthy boundaries and standards and own my power again. And all of these was a big rebirth because I looked at it as, okay, if this is happening for me, not to me, what magic is going to come out of this so that I can honor this baby? And that's where everything changed. And so now I live as they were my greatest blessings because they're still here with me and I'm honoring them in every moment.
That is powerful. The fact that you can actually look at a situation, especially something that extreme, that devastating, and be able to say, okay, can I find the gift in this? And if I find the gift, then I'm honoring my baby. I've never thought of it that way. We can use that in every circumstance. What could have been the gift in this? And what if this is happening for me? Some people we can say, okay, it's all happening for us. Others, it'll be a brand new contemplation. What if this is happening for me? What if this is happening for me? And if it is, what is the gift? Then if I see that gift, I can start moving from another place. I like that you were consistently looking for, okay, if this is happening for me, then what are the decisions and what am I going to believe and what is the story I can tell myself so that this is in my benefit? And then start acting from that story, that mindset, that moving forward, that dream. I think that's so incredibly helpful. I think sometimes when we're either making changes or we are trying something new or we want to become a better version of ourselves, it's not always wildly accepted. And we default back to that, oh, I've been bullied or I don't fit in. And I love that you said there was nothing wrong with me. I'm just a fit for different people. And I think, you know what, we can apply that at any age. If we're not being supported around us, or if we feel like we've outgrown the circumstances, or we're just not in this environment of good, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just a fit for different people. I think as I've grown throughout my life, I had very specific friendships and relationships at certain times that were so perfect for that version of Lisa at that age. And then there would be times where it started to feel like it was phasing out, and I would feel guilty and I would feel bad, and I didn't want to leave people behind, but I was becoming a fit for different people. And I think that's a gift to honor to yourself. There's a possibility I am outgrowing this circumstance. You can apply that when you were young, and you can also apply it right now. There's a possibility I'm a fit for different people and different environments. Maybe what's ahead for me actually requires me being in different environments. I love this. Okay, so
Yes, because we're always evolving.
thank you for saying that, because the other thing, you're not just going through it, you're growing through it. Really hear that, people. Everything that we are quote unquote going through is the opportunity to grow. So I'm actually growing through this thing that appears negative. I'm in the process of growing. I'm not just getting to the other side of it and then looking back, how did I grow? I'm day to day, I am personally growing while I'm going through this. So, how do I want to choose to grow? That's a huge thing for me today. Hearing that's a reminder in that challenge, or the things that I don't necessarily love. Oh, I am growing today through this wonderful opportunity called life. But, oh,
That's the thing, it's going to happen no matter what.
right.
So, how do we desire to experience it?
Mm-hmm.
And then we just choose. And it's hard, especially if you're still in the trauma.
Yeah.
There's so much trauma to release. If someone had told me this when I was deep in it, part of me would have recognized it, but the pain would have been just so much that I wouldn't have, and it took me 5 miscarriages. It took time, right?
Yeah.
Sit with it. There's no blame, there's no anything. This is just the story. This is the belief that's changed my life. That's brought magic into my life. That's brought miracles every single day into my life. That's blowing my mind that I work with. I mean, we had gone literally from everyone in the country knowing us because we became Anthony and Jocelyn Sandstrom, right? The celebrity couple. And then we came to Hawaii. Like we had been known, and then we had been nothing. And I had said, I
Mysteries.
talked to myself and I literally said, now I became nothing. Like I said that to myself. I was somebody and now I'm no one. And I
Mm.
believed it and then I showed up that way
Oh.
until the day I remembered that I am not no one and I'm not someone because of who I was overseas. I'm someone because I'm a soul and because all our souls are same power but different. And
Mm.
so then I started to see souls instead of characters and stories that people are playing because I was in a yoga nidra one time and I just saw all our souls like these little cells in this one big being. We're all the same, right? We're all these cells, part of God Source Universe Divine. So we are God Source Universe Divine. And
Mm-hmm.
when I saw that, I also had a breakthrough because my son was going through a health thing and I started to get really worried. And I'm like, do I want to be that person? Do I want to put that energy into the field? And so I always reprogram myself. My thing is reprogramming. So I go back, where are these fears coming from? And as I was reprogramming it, I remembered that my son's soul is just as powerful as mine.
Oh, yeah.
He's younger right now, so I don't think he has the strength, but his soul does. So I
Mm.
have nothing to worry for him.
Mm.
Then the fear disappeared. We went back, the testing, everything was clear. Because that happens to me a lot of times is that if I remember who I really am and I don't immerse into it. Another example is when my mom first had her stroke, it affected her brain a lot. This was within a first year after the stroke. We had gone to Home Depot to buy something and we went to pay with her Home Depot credit card and they said, "Oh, it's maxed out at $26,000. You can't use it." And she was like, "What?" And I looked at her and we were like, "What?" And then she just, crumbled because she's like, "Oh, did I screw up?" She's like, "I thought, everything was paid up." So we left like devastated because we're like, $26,000.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Ouch.
And then we were driving. I was driving her to therapy, and I was, I was like, if this is happening for us, not to us, what's the gift and all of it? And I'm like, okay, detachment. I was like, Mom, I looked at her and I said, it's just money. Don't worry about it. It's just money. We can make the money back. It means nothing. Forget about it. We'll sort it out. And she teared up and she's like, okay. Thank you, Jocelyn. Let's forget about it. And so we forgot about it. We let it go. We detached from it being this big thing.
Hmm.
And then when I got home, I called the credit card company and they said, I don't know what that person was talking about. You have zero balance. This stuff happens all the time when I don't make it a big thing. It happened with, I bought a camera lens, $2,400 camera lens from Best Buy, and they were supposed to ship it to me and it never arrived. And so I called them and they said, oh, it says you picked it up already. And I was like, what? And there's nothing we can do. You have to go down to the shop, find the person that sold it to you and talk to them. And I was like, are you kidding me? But I was like, it's happening for me, not to me. The more detached I am to this, the more somehow it's just going to work out. And I showed up, and then they just gave me another camera lens right away. Every time I don't get sucked into the drama or the story or the that this could break me, and I remember who I really am a lot of times and remember who they really are and know their soul, and I don't have to have fear for them.
Yeah.
A lot of times it just disappears.
So good. I think once we get that, if we really understand we are a soul and we're here to learn lessons, no matter if you're religious or you're not, or spiritual or you're not, clearly there is something other than just our bodies. There's our body and there's something inside it. I have support. I'm stronger than I know. I'm more capable than I know. And then if that's true, if that's possible, then all of these things that are happening, what if I am capable of surviving all of them? What if I am capable of making this nothing? What I love about what you were saying is that it's the detachment. It is what it is. I'm going to pull my emotions away from that. So I'm not going to get wrapped up in it, in the drama of it. And then I'm going to be able to take that step back to be able to say, could this possibly resolve itself? And then it does. I was online where you had talked about the universe blows my mind every
Yes.
day and why you say it that way. I want you to share that because I thought that was so good. The view
Yeah.
says this every day. The universe blows my mind every day. Something like that, right?
It does. And it does blow my mind every day. So, first, I want to say it's not what if I'm going to survive. You're going to survive because you're still here.
Yeah. I do want to add to that. You have survived literally everything up to this moment listening to this. You've survived it
Yeah.
all. Did you do it gracefully and did you have the outcome that you wanted? Maybe not, but you have survived 100% of everything you've lived through, or you wouldn't be here today. So give yourself credit for that and let that land. You've survived it all.
Yes.
Okay, now back
And
to you.
also, what one of my other mentors says is none of us is getting out of here alive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
You're
just
alive
like,
right now.
how do we make this experience as magical as possible?
Yes.
Because we get to be here. And to me, I don't think it's lessons that we have to grow through. I think it's our soul came here to experience this. Like we forgot we bought the ticket to Disneyland to go to Disneyland and ride the rides and ride a scary ride and scare the crap out of ourselves and then say, oh no, let's go on Small World instead and let's enjoy this ride and take a break, because I think about when I was in high school, I used to love watching horror movies, scary movies, Exorcist, all of this stuff to scare the crap out of myself, to feel those feelings and go on the craziest roller coasters until I scared myself too much. And then I said, okay, no, actually, I want to now do more comedy shows and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But why do we watch those things?
To feel.
To feel. So
Yeah.
what if our soul just came here to feel? Whether you want to call it soul or human, what if your human just wants to feel? And there's no good, bad, right, wrong, finish line, nothing. The experience is the feeling of the experience,
Yes. Yes.
period. And we also didn't just come here to feel happy because we wouldn't know what it felt like to be happy if we didn't feel sad.
Right. The
We wouldn't
contrast
know
of
what
all.
it would be like to be at the top of the mountain unless we started at the bottom of the mountain. But we keep thinking we want to climb to the top of the mountain and we're going to get there. But once we get there, we're going to get bored and we want to climb another mountain
Yep.
because it's the journey of it, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to click through our life like the movie Click. Like we want to remember that we came here to feel and experience. So there's beautiful sadness, there's pain. But when we transcend the pain, we feel so powerful, but we can't feel that if we hadn't been in the pain, you
Yeah.
know? And so if we just lean into that story for me, then every moment and every single day I've won because I'm feeling.
Oh, that's good. Yes.
And then I let the universe blow my mind because our mind, is the conditioned mind. Our mind is here to keep us safe, to keep us predictable, to keep us on automatic pilot. So when I cultivated enough strength and inner power to be strong in the unknown, to know that if I launch something and no one shows up, the only part of me that's going to be bruised is my ego.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not my ego, I'm my soul, I'm my being, I'm my infinite power. And so I will have disappointment until I remember who I really am. And then I don't need to worry about that. Anthony Robbins, the first time he sold his big program, he rented the place, he sold it out, not one person bought. But what did he do? He paid his four friends with pizza and soda to sit there for 4 days so he could teach them because he knew who he was. He was the visionary. He knew what was coming. That inspired me. I don't care if my ego gets bruised because I know where I'm going. My
Yes.
NLP teacher also told me that the best basketball player in the world missed the most shots, but that's also why he's the best basketball player in the world, because you just got to keep taking the shots. You'll never get there if you're afraid that you're going to fail, or you do fail and then you beat yourself up instead of, oh, I'm growing through this. I'm growing through this. I'm growing through this, right?
Yeah.
And so when I say blow my mind, my main thing is I do reprogramming with people, right? So it's like blowing the stories up, blowing up the limitations, blowing up the fears, realizing that they're just fears from my conditioned mind that's trying to pull me back to the safety that I know instead of the unknown where anything could happen. But if I could be strong in the unknown, that's where magic drops in. Because if I can make sense of it, a lot of times you'll have a knowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even Einstein, he'd go to sleep, he'd wake up, he'd have this knowing. Or James Cameron, he dreamt about Avatar and he brought it into reality. So if you have this knowing, you're just taking one step forward, but then your mind is trying to pull you back here because that's not safe. What if you do it and you fail? That's going to hurt. What if you lose everything? What if, all of these things? And so all we need to do is go back and figure out where that came from.
Right.
Where did that belief come from? And remove that belief and shift it so that it can release you to take the leaps. But also, when you have this knowing, you go to the mind to ask it permission, right?
Right.
But the thing is, then you try and make it logical and you try and make it make sense and you try and figure it out. But logic and magic are not a match. Magic is not logical
No.
at all. I reprogrammed myself to be the lucky one when I was in the spa. And I realized I didn't want to be the lucky one because if I was the lucky one, everyone would just say, oh, she's just lucky. I just thought people were going to say that about me. And I would have to prove to them that I earned it, that I worked for it. Like I always had to prove. And I'm like, why do I have to keep proving it? Why can't I just be the lucky one and enjoy my life because I'm the lucky one, right? So then by the time I got home, a friend had messaged me and she told me you won a brand immersion with one of your mentors worth over $10,000. And I was like, what? I didn't even know there was a draw today. She did that 2 weeks ago and I didn't win. And then that became my new reality, right? Because I get to be the lucky one. I don't care if people say she's just lucky. I'll say, yeah, I am just lucky. You want to
I
know the
am.
secret?
Yes. Yes. I will gladly be the lucky one. I
Yeah.
love
And so
that.
you just blow your mind. You basically break the 4 minute mile and you blow all the limitations from your mind. And then more and more magic just starts showing up and showing up every single day. I did this with my 4-year-old. I forgot his beach toys and he was getting upset. And I said, don't worry about it. We're magic and miracles. We're going to find something on the beach. And then we get down there and we start digging and we dig up a Lego wizard. A wizard out of all of the things. So he uses it as his wand to manifest things now, right? Because he believes it's possible. And if you
Yes.
believe it's possible, you'll make it possible. Anything you believe, you will create into this reality because you're going to confirm it. Like people say, I can't trust, but they trust that they can't trust. And they say they're confident, but they're confident that they're not confident.
Oh,
Or they say I live in a reality that I don't create. So then therefore they hand their power to the reality and don't create it. But the more I've played with this, the more that I shift something, the world shifts. Basically, they were responding off of me. If
oh,
I show up a certain way, they're going to respond to me. But if I shift that belief and I show up this way, they respond to this different version of me. So now I'm the creator of my reality. And that's when everything in my world shifted.
that's so good. I hope people rewind just like a minute and a half back for that. Because when you say, I don't trust, but actually you trust in the statement that you don't trust. That's so important. Look at, I'm not confident. Well, you're confident that you're not confident. I talk a lot about that in my work, the words that come out of your mouth. We have to be aware of the words that we speak, really aware. We make it so lighthearted. Pay attention. What are you saying? How many times are you negative? How many times are you discouraging your own beliefs or repeating the story you've told yourself forever when there's a possibility that today it could be different? You could choose today to change, to talk about a different story. I love the universe blows my mind, but when you actually add the power to that, the universe literally blows my conditioned mind. Hear that and start saying that to yourself. If I'm looking around for the ways that the universe blows my mind in a good way, looking for the magic, okay, Jocelyn said the world is magical, so I'm going to try this shit out and see if it's actually true. So let me think if there's really magic out there. But if you start telling yourself every day, the universe blows my mind, even just saying that, like the first time you say it, you may be like, bullshit. But the second time I say it, there's a little part of me inside that's like, hey, maybe. And then you'll start feeling it and feeling it and feeling it. And even just saying it has the power to change everything because you start saying it and then you're going to believe it and then you're looking for it. And if you actually take a minute to look around this universe, every single day there is something miraculous. I mean, it can be, this is a stupid story, but it really has stuck with me. Last week, I had some bird fly into my window, this teeny tiny bird flew into my window so hard, and I was so sad because I'm like, great, now this bird is going to die. So I go out there and I'm not going to let it die alone. I pick it up and I hold it. Long story short, the freaking thing ends up living, starts flying around my house. I can't get it out of my house. And then it finally surrenders to let me get it back in my hand without hurting it. And it flies away. And then I went outside to the window and there was all these smashed feathers. It had hit its head ridiculously hard. I'm sure it's probably a brain damaged bird now. But the
Oh,
point is, that thing, I held it in my hand for 10 minutes waiting for it to die, and it appeared as if it was going to die. Nothing on it would move. His legs weren't moving. He was doing that little breath like before they die, and then sure enough, within an hour, he's alive. I love that story. That bird hit that window so hard, it should have been dead. But the animal lover in me, I still look at that little miracle and I was like, how did that bird fly away? There's no way that thing should be alive. What a little miracle. It made my day. It was the simplest things. It's not like it's all about money landing in your lap or you getting the dream job. Look for the tiny miracles. Sometimes they happen to you, sometimes they happen around you. But the universe can blow your mind every day if you choose it. And the more you say that, the more you believe that it really does happen because it's happening every day. It's just, are you noticing it? Are you
yes.
seeing it? The universe is miraculously doing all sorts of things every day to benefit us and those around us. So, talk to us since I just wanted to go into that. Talk to us about the spiritual billionaire because I feel
Well,
like everybody wants to know about this. And I loved it. The minute you dropped that, I'm like, this is my world. Check, please. Let me in.
well, what you said there, we just compound it, right? You choose it, you compound it every single day. It's the red car theory. How many red cars did you see driving on the road today? Think about it. How many red cars did you see? And
Right,
then tomorrow, when you're driving and you're looking for the red cars, how many red cars are you going to see?
right.
You're going to see ones down an alley because you're looking for the red car. So you're now looking for the miracles instead of looking for
Yes.
all the ways it's not working. Because someone will come to you and they say, oh, this always happens to me. And I'm like, always? And they're like, no, not always, but this happened, this happened, this happened. Okay, well, stop compounding the times that it happened and start compounding the times that it didn't happen because which reality do you want to live in? Do you want to live in the times that it didn't happen or do you want to live in the reality of the times that it did, right?
Mm.
Then you just play with it with the small things. Like I said, the lucky one, even going to the restaurant, my husband and I randomly, oh, let's go eat at a restaurant on a holiday. And he's like, oh, it's impossible. You're not going to get a reservation. And I said, not in my reality. In my
Let's not say
reality,
that
you
again.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I compound it with that. I play with the weather. If there's a chance that it's going to be sunny,
Yeah.
it's going to be sunny. And it does. By the end of my Canada trip, my father-in-law was telling everybody that I can change the weather. And I'm like, no, I just don't make it
Yeah.
that and make it what I desire it to be. And I focus on it. And if it's going to be sunny, awesome. If not, I'll make it magic no matter what. It's that detachment. It's going to work out, or I'm going to make it magic no matter what. And
Hmm.
so you play with it with the small things to then take it to the big things.
I love
Because you compound it with these things,
that.
then that makes it much easier for your mind to believe, because you've blown your mind, that it could happen here. So the first thing that blew my mind when I was playing with this was I knew I wanted to teach corporate workshops
Hmm.
with my coaching. And how am I going to contact these people and call out these companies and, all this stuff? But I have something called the soul evolution process that I listen to my soul. And you can call it soul, intuition, gut, knowing. When you said listen between the words, that
Hmm.
is it, because these words are just what we use, but it's all the same thing.
Hmm.
Manifestation, magic, synchronicity, luck. They're
Yeah.
all the same thing. Whatever word you want to use, it doesn't matter. And
Yes.
so, anyways, I listened to my knowing, and it was like, okay, that's coming, but work on this first. So I would work on it. I was in alignment. Out of the blue, my friend messages me, hey, this client wants to book you. Are you available? I know it's last minute. I tuned in. It felt in alignment. I said, okay, awesome. I did it. And then I get there. I work with the CEO of a amazing company,
Hmm.
and I tell him what I do. And he's like, oh, awesome. I have a team. Send me a proposal. I wrote up a proposal, sent it to him, and I did my first corporate workshop, because we are not the ones bringing the magic into our life. We have to remember we're co-creating with the universe. So when we're in alignment and we're ready, the universe will drop it in. And so you can quantum leap without having to call all the people, find out who to talk to, write a proposal, send it to all the people. The universe just says, okay, you're ready. I'm still growing a lot through it. But
All right.
the main thing is, once we realize that the reason why we hold on to these things is because the conditioned mind is trying to protect us,
Yes.
trying to protect us from taking the leap and not working and getting hurt and all of these things. And so the way to number one, override that is be aware that these fears are your conditioned mind acting out of past trauma. So it wants to protect you.
Yeah.
And also recognizing the same man can't walk in the same river twice, because the river is always shifting and changing, unless you freeze the river because you're frozen in time. And then you're literally stuck in the same place, repeating the same things over and over again. And that's the difference between the visionaries. The visionaries bring the future into the now
Yeah.
instead of bringing the past into the now, right? But
Mhm.
how do you become a visionary? You've got to become a black belt in your power.
Yeah.
Like you said, becoming the person that can hold the disappointment, becoming the person that can hold these big crises, knowing that you can transmute them,
Right.
knowing that now I don't have to be afraid of anything in my life because it's going to hurt, but I'm going to transmute it.
And I'm capable. I'm
Yeah,
totally
and I'm
capable of it.
capable. So then the compounding then becomes all the times in your life that you did transmute it,
Yeah.
so that you can give your conditioned mind enough comfortability to let go, to take those leaps,
Yes.
because it knows you're going to be okay. Because if it doesn't know you're going to be okay, it's not going to let go. That's why I do reprogramming, because I go
Yeah.
back and I let my conditioned mind know. I know these things. I knew that I needed to recode the hustle, because the spiritual billionaire doesn't hustle. The spiritual billionaire co-creates with the universe in quantum leaps, gets in alignment. Our job is to show up, to live, to be pleasure, to be desire, to be aligned action, to make bold moves, to grow, to transmute. And when I'm in alignment, the universe drops in the next thing. So the spiritual billionaire can get to billions because of the quantum leaps that jump in. I know when I recoded the hustle, I knew that I wasn't meant to hustle and burn out. When I had come home that one week after vacation and I realized how much I was still really hustling, because you always realize it when you're on vacation, you're like,
Right.
holy crap.
That was, yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
I came home and my knowing told me spiritual billionaires don't hustle. But my mind was like, no, 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 don't rest. Don't watch TV. If you watch TV, your business is going to fail. If you don't wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym and then do this and do this, your business is going to fail. You have to be on all the time. You shouldn't do anything for entertainment. You should be always reading a podcast, being on a webinar, doing all these things, right?
Yeah.
Conditioned mind was don't rest, but my knowing was no, I'm recoding this. So I spent that week recoding it, and my conditioned mind kept coming up. And every time it was, I got this. Remember the last time my knowing was right? Remember the last time this happened? And I just kept compounding my power to override the conditioned mind, to blow the conditioned mind. And I knew something was going to drop in that week. And at the end of the week, I got a text message inviting me to speak at the Conscious Leader Summit in New York at the World Trade Center during Climate Week. And I had dreamed about being on stage in New York, but I thought it was going to be the last stage. I thought I was going to have to build up to smaller stages to then get onto the big stage. And because I recoded the hustle, I knew I let my knowing override the conditioned mind. That week, I didn't watch one webinar. I didn't do one post. I watched TV and I ate junk food.
Which you never
And
do.
yeah, which I never do. I'm not saying be lazy. I'm saying reprogram the guilt so that when you're
Yeah.
doing it, you're allowed to also have fun. You're not only here to work, right? So it was just reprogramming that I get to have it all. I not be the billionaire that works and gets sick and never sees that my child grows up without a mother because I'm working all the time, all of these things. I knew the spiritual billionaire gets to have it all. And so the recoding was hard because my conditioned mind was freaking out the whole time. But I shifted that and I realized I remembered who I really was, what I
Mhm.
was calling in. The universe said, okay, boom, here you go, quantum leap to that stage. And then I spoke in Hong Kong and Paris. When you can play with the magic, the universe will blow your mind.
Yes.
When you don't need to make sense of it because you know you're strong enough to not have to ask your conditioned mind for permission. And when you ask your conditioned mind for permission, it's going to give you more of the same.
Yeah.
But when you can be strong enough to be the visionary that can see the vision that you're bringing into this reality, because in quantum physics, past, present, future is in the now. So it's already here. You're
Yeah.
just stepping into a future memory. Did you ever watch Interstellar?
Hmm.
And you know when he's in the library bookcase and he's just
Yes.
going up and down and everything is in that moment.
Hmm.
So imagine we're in quantum physics. Past is here, present's here, future's here, or whatever you want to call it. So you notice when you go to future memories or visions, it's always kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like you can very clearly see yourself, just like you can very clearly see a past memory.
Yes.
Because what if it's already happened and it's just showing you what's coming if you take aligned action every single day and you act in accordance to that version of you?
Right.
What if it could happen instead of the past version of you where it didn't happen, and what if it doesn't happen? And that's the visionary. The visionary can stay in the knowing, even if it doesn't look like it, even if it looks like nothing's happening. It knows that the roots are growing underneath. It knows that all it needs to do is water it every single day. And if it's 2 feet in that knowing, instead of I know it, but I doubt it,
Yes.
then
Yes.
it's going to grow that much faster. And also, if it's 2 feet in instead of is it growing yet, and you dig it up and kill it,
Right. Right.
like Sex in the City, that TV show
Yeah.
is about four women that are just super obsessed and hyper focused on getting married, right? So much so that they screw up their relationships. If you look at the Carrie Dr. Big, Dr. Big, Mr.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
relationship, you could see in the beginning like he loved her, but
Hmm.
he wasn't unfolding as fast as she needed him to. And he didn't say the words she needed him to, and he didn't guarantee her the future she desired. And so they went through all this mess to end up there if she had just let it unfold. And we do that to our business.
We do that.
We do that to our business all the time because we're so hyper focused because our ego wants to be successful and
Hmm.
wants to know that it's working and wants to have proof and wants to prove and please and achieve. And that's where the burnout comes from. Instead of like Anthony Robbins, I know this is coming. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to show up every day as if I'm already that person. And I'm going to follow the breadcrumbs every single day till it leads me there. I'm
Yeah.
not going to waste my time on the doubt anymore because who has time for that? I can live here or I can live here and get there faster. And I'm not going to kill the business to check. Like you do a launch and then you beat yourself up instead of, oh, okay, I did that launch. People are watching. They
Hmm.
were almost a yes.
Yes.
But if I keep going, eventually they're going to get the hit and they're going to see it more and more and they're going to feel the magnetism. And then eventually it's going to be a yes.
Yes. I,
And that's the visionary. So every time you doubt, instead of doubting and going to a past memory, you close your eyes and you go to a future memory. And
yes.
that's it.
No, this is so good. And I really want people to understand it is a consistent focusing of the mind. It's not like you're going to break a habit tomorrow, but it's the consistent focusing of the mind to move yourself towards what you want. Aligned action. We don't just wake up one day and get it all. We don't just sit back and think, well, I'm thinking about it and feeling it. There is literal aligned action. Like she was saying, Tony Robbins showed up every day as if this is going to be a successful business. Same thing. We show up every day as if I'm going to get the things that I want. And trusting that it is growing. And I think that's the hardest part for is to believe I'm planting the seeds, they're growing. It's growing. I am on the path, it's growing. And what you were just saying, look for the good in the evidence. So yes, you do a master class or you put a sale out there or you do something at your job and it doesn't come out to be what you thought it was going to be, you're one step closer. You're even better. You're fine tuning. You actually went through that hurdle. You know what you're doing now and continuing to step forward with aligned action. Don't, and
Not
there
just
is,
action,
yes,
it has to be
fine
aligned
balance.
action.
There is that fine balance between I want this and I'm going to hustle and I'm going to listen and I'm going to take the action that I'm inspired to take. And I think sometimes looking back on my life, it's so good that I didn't get the rewards and the success when I wanted it, because had I got it at that point in time, it was all me hustling. And that's not how magic and the universe works.
Yes.
Magic and the universe needs it to be under the ground. It needs it to be hidden under there, growing in the dirt with a little bit of sunshine and a little bit of water while you're out there just wondering, I'm going to keep on doing it, trusting that this corn is going to sprout at some day. And then one day you go out there and it's sprouted. That's
Yes.
not under our control. And so if you're sitting there, like you're saying, you definitely don't go dig it up, but you got to put it in there. And then that's what makes it miraculous. If it's me and I'm the one doing all of it, then there isn't the miracle. So there has to be that belief in it. I really dream about it. I love it. I want it. I feel it. And I'm going to take those inspired steps forward and I'm going to trust in the magic. And then when it really does happen, if you have trusted in the magic, it tends to be bigger than you could have ever imagined and so much easier, which I love so much. We could keep on talking forever. Unfortunately, I have another one very soon. But before we go, and we definitely will have another one, tell everybody where they can find you.
I love Instagram the most. It just feels the most aligned, so I put a lot on there. And then I do post on Facebook on my personal page as well too. And then I have my website, but I'm on Instagram mostly.
And we'll have
Sharing the love, sharing the podcast, sharing activations. I also have a free wealth codes group where I go in sometimes and do downloads for people, and I will do Q&As in there as well too. So if you want to be part of that group, just DM me and I'll add you to it. All of the people in there are so incredible, and they're all in the frequency of Spiritual Billionaire. And so when we surround ourselves with the same energy, it amplifies and
all
it
right.
compounds.
Okay, it's Jocelyn. Is it Jocelyn Luko-Sandstrom or is it just
Yeah,
Jocelyn Sandstrom on your?
Jocelyn
Okay,
Luko-Sandstrom.
perfect.
Yeah, all one
And
word.
love it, no hyphen. And then we'll make sure we have links below. And
Thank you.
then anything else that you feel like you need to say before we wrap up? Anything that feels important?
I would just say decide.
Mm,
Just decide what you want to experience and then tell yourself the story that's going to bring that experience because everything's a story anyways. So
right.
why not tell yourself a story that's going to make you feel good
Mm.
instead of one that's going to hurt or
Yes.
feel stuck?
And then start living from as if you have that story, living as you're
And
walking towards
step
it.
into
And
your future
yeah,
memories
yeah,
and pull that frequency into now.
yeah.
If you can really create that belief in your mind, that is literally a future memory. It's like the person from Back to the Future that goes back in time and gives his younger self the secret of the book. There was a movie where someone came back from the future and said, "Hey, buy Apple stock."
Right.
And if you can be the kid or the person that's just buys the Apple stock, that doesn't say that's stupid, it's a fruit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you just buy the Apple stock and then years later you become a multimillionaire. If you can really cultivate that belief, you're going to show up in a completely different way in your life. If you can just say, I believe that now,
Yeah.
and you look for any example that you can do to prove that to yourself, your life will change because you won't have as much wobble. Because if you really believe that's not just a future memory that you're tapping into, like a past one, it's inevitable. So now how would I show up every single day if that's inevitable? How would I launch? Disney got rejected 33 times. On the 34th time, he got to the bank. How fast would I go through those 33 times to then know that on the 34th time I'm going to get the loan instead of beating myself up every single time and maybe not, and maybe giving up on the 33rd time?
Mm-hmm. Or the
But if
seventh.
you, yeah, exactly.
I would have given
But
up on the seventh. Right.
but
Yes.
if you just own that and you wake up in that knowing and you start the day in a future memory instead of a past memory,
Yeah.
imagine. And if you literally say every single day, the universe is going to blow my mind. I'm just excited for the magic that's unfolding today. Like, what could the magic unfold today? It's going to be the best day ever because each day is. So, what's the magic that gets to unfold today? And that's your red car.
Yeah.
It will change overnight.
Start looking for those red cars.
Yeah.
I love this. We didn't even get to go into everything about her, but
Yeah.
you need to be in her world. She has this magical ability to literally be able to shift things for you, shift your energy, shift your beliefs, shift the things that have happened to you. She has very specific processes that are incredible. So find her, look for her free resources. If you know, okay, I need some help, this is the person. She has so many ways of assisting you. And even if you don't feel like you need help, but you want to get to your next level, this is your go to. Of all the people I know and love, this woman, she has literally magical abilities. But they can't just be magical because they actually have true evidence. I've seen them. So go and find her. And the last thing that I love to ask all of my guests is, considering the woman that you are today and the person that you feel like you want to become in the future, how would you end this sentence? I am the one who.
I am the one who plays with magic
Yes, you do.
and ripples that out into the world.
Yes.
If you have an opportunity, go and watch my post about pure love on
Mhm.
on Instagram that I did of how pure love will literally ripple and transmute into the world and transform the world in just this simple thing that you could do. Bring it in and ripple it out into the world. That's my passion. I
Oh,
am that.
and so many of these episodes talk about that. You just have no idea what the ripple effect will be of the things that you do.
Yes.
So you take
So just
magic.
be the ripple.
Yes, you play with it, you draw it in, and then you ripple out that magic out to the world. And I love it. This has been so fun. If I did
Thank
not have
you so
another one,
much.
I would keep going, but thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this podcast. Thanks for all that you do and thanks for your magic. I love you so much.
I love you too. And we'll see you guys again soon on the One Podcast.